Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my series, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Without further ado, returning to Great Expectations.
Remember when he is going to assist us in, said Herbert, and be calm.
The illusion made me spring up, though I dropped again from the pain in my arm.
The time has not gone by, Herbert, has it? What night is tonight? How long have I been here?
For I had a strange and strong misgiving that I had been lying there a long time, a day and a night, 2 days and nights more. The time has not gone by. It is still Monday. Excuse me.
The time has not gone by. It is still Monday night. Thank God. And you have all tomorrow, Tuesday, to rest in,
said Herbert.
But you can't help groaning, my dear Handel. What hurt have you got? Can you stand?
Yes, said I.
I can walk. I have no hurt but in this throbbing arm.
They laid it bare, and did what they could. It was violently swollen and inflamed, and I could scarcely endure to have it touched. But they took up their handkerchiefs to make their fresh bandages, and carefully replaced it in the sling, until we could get to the town and obtain some cooling lotion to put upon it. In a little while we had shut the door of the dark and empty sluice house, and were passing through the quarry on our way back, Trabb's overgrown young man now, went before us with a lantern, which was the light I had seen come in at the door. But the moon was a good 2 hours higher than when I had last seen the sky, and the night, though rainy, was much lighter. The white vapor of the kiln was passing from us as we went by, and, as I had thought a prayer before, I thought a thanksgiving now. Entreating Herbert to tell me how he had come to my rescue, which at first he had flatly refused to do, but he had insisted on my remaining quiet, I learnt that I had in my hurry coming home to bring with him Startop, whom he had met in the street on his way to me. Found it very soon after I was gone. Its tone made him uneasy, and the more so because of the inconsistency between it and the hasty letter I had left for him. His uneasiness increasing instead of subsiding after a quarter of an hour's consideration, he set off for the coach office with Startop, who volunteered his company to make inquiry when the next coach went down. Finding that the afternoon coach was gone, and finding that his uneasiness grew into positive alarm as obstacles came in his way, he resolved to follow in a post-chaise. So he and Startop arrived at the Blue Boar, fully expecting there to find me, or tidings of me, but finding neither, went on to Miss Havisham's, where they lost me. Hereupon they went back to the hotel, doubtless at about the time when I was hearing the popular local version of my own story, to refresh themselves and to get some one to guide them out upon the marshes. Among the loungers under the Boar's archway happened to be Trabb's boy, true to his ancient habit of happening to be everywhere when he had no business, and Trabb's boy had seen me passing from Miss Havisham's in the direction of my dining place. Thus, Trabb's boy became their guide, and with him they went out to the sluice house, though by the town way to the marshes, which I had avoided. Now, as they went along, Herbert reflected that I might, after all, have been brought there on some genuine and serviceable errand tending to Provis's safety, and bethinking himself that in that case interruption must be mischievous, left his guide and Startop on the edge of the quarry, and went on by himself, and stole round the house 2 or 3 times, endeavoring to ascertain whether all was right within, as he could hear nothing but indistinct sounds of one deep, rough voice. This was while my mind was so busy, He even at last began to doubt whether I was there, when suddenly I cried out loudly, and he answered the cries, and rushed in, closely followed by the other two. When I told Herbert what had passed within the house, he was for our immediately going before a magistrate in the town, late at night as it was, and getting out a warrant. But I had already considered that such a course, by detaining us there, or binding us to come back, might be fatal to Provis. There was no gainsaying this difficulty, and we relinquished all thoughts of pursuing Orlick at that time. For the present, under the circumstances, we deemed it prudent rather than to make rather light of the matter to Trabb's boy, who I am convinced would have been much affected by disappointment. If he had not known, if he had known that his intervention saved me from the lime kiln, not that Trabb's boy was of a malignant nature, but he had too much spare vivacity, and that it was in his constitution to want variety and excitement at anybody's expense. When we parted, I presented him with 2 guineas, which seemed to meet his views, and told him that I was sorry ever to have had an ill opinion of him, which made no impression on him at all. Wednesday being so close upon us, we determined to go back to London that night, 3 in the post-chaise, and rather, as we should be clear away before the night's adventure began to be talked of. Herbert got a large bottle of stuff for my arm, and by dint of having this stuff dropped over it all the night through, I was just able to bear its pain on the journey. It was daylight when we reached the temple, and I went at once to bed and lay in bed all day. My terror, as I lay there, of falling ill and being unfitted for tomorrow, was so besetting that I wonder it did not disable me of itself. It would have done so, pretty surely, in conjunction with the mental wear and tear I had suffered, but for the unnatural strain upon me that tomorrow was so anxiously looked forward to, charged with such consequences, its result so impenetrably hidden, though so near. No precaution could have been more obvious than our refraining from communication with him that day, yet this again increased my restlessness. I started at every footstep and every sound, believing that he was discovered and taken, and this was the messenger to tell me so. I persuaded myself that I knew he was taken, that there was something more upon my mind than a fear or a presentiment, that the fact had occurred, and I had a mysterious knowledge of it. As the day wore on and no ill news came, as the day closed in and darkness fell, my overshadowing dread of being disabled in illness before tomorrow morning altogether mastered me. My burning arm throbbed, and my burning head throbbed, and I fancied I was beginning to wander. I counted up to high numbers, to make sure of myself, and repeated passages that I knew in prose and verse. It happened sometimes that in the mere escape of a fatigued mind, I dozed for some months or forgot. Then I would say to myself, with a start, "Now it has come, and I am turning delirious." They kept me very quiet all day, and kept my arm constantly dressed, and gave me cooling drinks. Whenever I fell asleep, I awoke with the notion I had had in the sluice house, that a long time had elapsed, and the opportunity to save him was gone. About midnight I got out of bed and went to Herbert, with the conviction that I had been asleep for 24 hours, and that Wednesday was past. It was the last self-exhausting effort of my fretfulness, for after that I slept soundly. Wednesday morning was dawning when I looked out of the window. The winking lights upon the bridges were already pale. The coming sun was like a marsh of fire on the horizon. The river, still dark and mysterious, were spanned by bridges that were turning coldly grey, with here and there atop a warm touch from the burning in the sky. As I looked along the clustered roofs, with church towers and spires shooting into the unusually clean air, the sun rose up, and a veil seemed to be drawn from the river, and millions of sparkles burst out upon its waters. From me, too, a veil seemed to be drawn, and I felt strong and well. Herbert lay asleep in his bed, and our old fellow student lay asleep on the sofa. I could not dress myself without help, but I made up the fire, which was still burning, and got up some coffee ready for them. In good time they too startled up strong and well, and we admitted the sharp morning air at the windows, and looked at the tide that was flowing towards us.
When it turns 9 o'clock,
Said Herbert cheerfully.
look out for us and stand ready. You over there at Mill Pond Bank.
We'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.